Okay, good morning, everyone. As we said, Happy New Year. Welcome to today's session, the first one of 2026. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO9 honors the land, the people, and the treaties, recognizing the original guides of these territories and their enduring contributions. As treaty people, we all share the responsibility to uphold these agreements in a fair and respectful way. As a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO9 is committed to supporting Indigenous communities by creating space for their stories and helping foster socioeconomic growth through tourism. And just to touch on some housekeeping notes before we get going, first, if you didn't hear, this workshop is being recorded and it will be available for viewing after today's session on the RTO9's website, rto9.ca, under the resources tab. There is always opportunity to engage with Jennifer and ask questions, so feel free to pop into the chat, or if you want to do it anonymously, you can also do it at the Q&A box at the bottom of the window there. And we'll get to them as we can. Jennifer usually asks you some questions to keep you engaged and make sure that you're getting the information that you need. So feel free to pop into the chat at any point. After today's session, you're also going to get an email that's going to include a quick 2-minute survey link. If you're able to spare some time to review the workshop, it would be greatly appreciated. And now, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer to touch base on a very important topic this morning. Jennifer, over to
Very
you.
important. Thank you, Meg. So good morning, everyone, and happy 2026 to everyone. We have a big group today, which is fantastic. And I see a lot of new faces, and then I see a lot of names that I recognize. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite tools, which is the Google Business Profile. As Meg mentioned, I like questions. So as you have questions, please use the chat. I have it open. I kind of have two things going at once. I'm talking about a presentation and then I'm also reading your questions. So feel free to ask as we go along. If there's any terminology, phrases, items that you would like clarity on, please use the chat. Sometimes I get excited about a topic and kind of go off a little bit, but if you need me to come back and reiterate something or explain it further, please do so. As Meg mentioned, if you'd prefer to be more anonymous, you can certainly use the Q&A box. That one I have to navigate away from, so I might not see it right away, but hopefully Meg can keep a little peek on that one. All right, so let's talk about Google Business Profiles. So my name is Jennifer Baker, and I'm the facilitator for today's session. I am based out of Kingston and run a digital marketing agency here and have been doing so for the past 14 years. So it's myself plus a team of 6 individuals that I have here. We do everything from email marketing to social media organic to paid digital ads to content creation to SEO and website development. So we've been doing it for about 14 years, and I'm glad to be here with you. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about this Google Business Profile, which has had a few different iterations over the years. Name changes more or less, but more or less providing the same service. We're going to be talking about getting it set up or claiming an existing profile if you don't have that access. We're going to be talking about what to do with it because a lot of people set and forget and then they never touch it again. We're going to talk about a few different tools that they have, so related to posts, adding photos, and then we're going to talk a little bit about analytics and insights. So for the 28 individuals who are here, who has a Google Business Profile? It looks like this graphic. So this is kind of the logo associated with the Google Business Profile. So put in okay, so we've got some hands up. We've got some people saying we do, I do. Good. This is good. Got some thumbs up. Thank you. Not sure. Okay. So, and if you're not sure, that's good too. That's okay because we'll make sure that you have access to it. All right. Thank you, everyone. So your Google Business Profile is basically a free tool. It's free to manage your business's presence on Google. It really absolutely helps with local visibility. So it provides essential information. And by essential, we're talking about address, hours of operation, and the services you provide. Okay. So there's this idea that, Facebook and Instagram are kind of the be all and the end all. I know they are very important to a lot of businesses. But if your business relies on either walk-in traffic, maybe you cater more to tourism, and people are in the area and they say restaurants, Elgin, shopping, Cornwall, what is going to come up? They're going to be in Google and they're going to be using that tool. So this is really where the Google Business Profile is very important. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to do a few examples as well. So when people use Google to do some of their searching, it's going to be separated into typically 3 sections like this. Sometimes it looks slightly different. So in the top left corner, this is a paid Google ad that we're running. So we can see our paid. Below that is organic. So that's us showing up organically. And on the right-hand side, that's that Google Business Profile. So you may recognize it if you've ever looked for a restaurant or a hotel, maybe in a different area, you've looked for a shop. So it includes photos. It's got that little headline there. It shows number of reviews. Has everyone seen? So everyone kind of has that context of what we're looking for here. And the purpose of today is to really make sure you understand why it's important, and so that you can update it when it's relevant to your business. Okay. So Google Business, it used to be called local business, local Google, Google My Business. It was called a number of different iterations now, but it's just Google Business now. So it really helps with the SEO and visibility of those local search results. So if people are looking for a hairdresser in Kingston, that's what they Google. And then you get that map of where the hairdressers are. Or if you type in, toy store, bookstore, Gananoque, what's coming up? So ideally, it's going to provide accurate and up-to-date information. And then people can do a little bit of research to see if they want to visit your shop, place, hotel, or not. Okay. Years ago, there was a local business I was working with, and they ran a bakery, and they would say to me, Google keeps saying that we open at 6, but we don't. And then they would say, the internet says we open at 6, but we don't. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they were referring to their Google Business Profile, and they didn't have access to it. They didn't know how to get access to it. And the problem with that is if you don't have access to your Google Business Profile, it relies on user information. So I can go in and say, the tip ship is open at 6 a.m. on Mondays, when in fact, Trish is definitely not there at 6 a.m. on Mondays. So by having that ownership, you can control the information that is presented. So let's look at a couple different. And if you want, actually, I'll do one example. So somebody put your business in here and I'll just pick it at random to do a live example as I go through here. So if I'm, traveling down to Gananoque, I want to get a cup of coffee. I might type in, on my phone, probably on my phone, cafes in Gananoque. And this is what shows up. So it gives me a nice little map. It shows me a couple different places, likely where they serve coffee. Some are more relevant than others. And it gives me the top 3. So we've got Pistachio, Laverne's, and Frisk, which I've never heard of actually. And then it gives that little map. So a lot of people also come to me and say, I want to be on the map. Well, you need a Google Business to do that. So before we even go any further, we can see, Pistachio, they have, 4.6 out of 5 stars. That seems pretty good. I can see a little cute picture of their space, and then I can go down and see the rest of them. So very quickly, I have an idea of maybe where I want to go. So Pistachio's got a 4.6 rating. They have 350 reviews, and it's a cafe, and I can see a review. So this is really, really important. So let's take a peek. So I'm looking now, I'm going to drive down the highway a little bit more. I'm going to go to, I want to see maybe some museums or, places to spend some time in Brockville. So I think I typed in Museum Brockville was my query. And now I can see all the little red dots where there's potentially a place to go that might fit my option. But the first one here is the Brockville Museum. Again, I can see the star rating, I can see the reviews, I can see its museum, the location, and one review stated there. And then again, after that, I can see a number of different options. So the aquatarium or the armories. So this is why it's really important. All right, let's see. Let's do one live example here. Who do we have here? Oh, everyone really wants to. Kingston Community Health Center. Best Health Physio. Maybe let's just do physio. Actually, what I want to do, Best Health, you're in Kingston, correct? So physio therapy, Kingston. So let's just see if, so we've got Candace here. She's mentioned Best Health Physio. So I'm just going to look for a physiotherapist in Kingston. And let's see where Best Health even pops up. So I am in Kingston, so that might be a little bit biased. Okay. So the competition is strong within this little, oh, look at organically, you're number one. Good for you. Good job. So right here, so Progress Physiotherapy, they are paying to be here. Okay, so that's the first result there. But then the next three are organic. Okay. However, this is really good for you. So let's take more places. And let's see where you show up here. So anything sponsored, so that is a paid Google ad. So that's something that you would do through Google Ads management. So they pay to be here. And it's Best Health. So let's see where you actually show up. You're way down. Okay, you're down here with, what is that? Probably 20 down. Okay, so you're up here. So I can see Best Health Physio is right there. It is a ways down. But then again, if I lived maybe in the West End, I'd be more likely to, query either Best Health or this, K-Town Physiotherapy. So usually the next natural question that comes from this is, how do I become number one? How do I, get to maybe where this JD Physiotherapy is? So as we go through today's session, I'll show you what you need to do to increase kind of where you are in that list. All righty. Any questions so far? No? Okay. All right. First thing I'm going to say, this is free. The Google Business Profile is free. You, at this point, at no point ever did you have to pay for it. Oftentimes, once you do have a verified listing with an associated phone number or point of contact, the spammers or the phishing scams, as you will, come around either by phone or email or otherwise. And they say like you need to pay $500 or $1,000 to keep your Google Business Profile. This is a phishing scheme. You do not need to pay. This is a service offered by Google. The only time you would have to pay is if you wanted one of those sponsored. So those top three spaces, that's a Google ad. That's not a phishing scam. Okay. So this is a free service from Google. So you should be running towards this with open arms. All right. So your listings are controlled by you. And that means you need to keep everything up to date. So I'm going to bring over my screen in a second. So that means your phone number, your operating hours, any photos. And you can add special hours as well. So if you're closed during the lunch hour, or maybe you're open on Canada Day. Wow, I'm already in July. That's as I look at all the snow. But if you're open on special hours, you can adjust. So let's take a little peek at what my profile looks like. Maybe. I love whenever I write in Jennifer, it thinks I'm Jennifer Lawrence, which I am absolutely not, but that's okay. So it doesn't come up today. That's okay. Let's just bring this over here for a second. Sometimes when I have the screens open for too long, it kind of resets me. Sorry about that. Like I have everything open and then all right. So when you have your Google Business Profile, it used to be kind of a separate portal. So if you haven't been looking in the last year or so, it looks slightly different. So it looks like this. So the management of it kind of comes up in what looks like a Google search result. So that's this little box in here. Okay. So you can see profile strength, you can see number of interactions, and then you can see this edit profile. So what you're really aiming for here is to have kind of a green profile strength. You're like, well, Jennifer, you're teaching this and you don't even have yours. I have to do like an outside picture of my building, which is very unpretty. So that's why that's there. So if you do have access, you can go in here and complete the info. It's going to walk you through a few different steps. So it's add a storefront. I guess I could just do the front door, I suppose. There's my storefront. And then it says do Google Ads, which I'm not going to do. So that could be your first step that you do. Okay. Don't worry, I'm coming back to it. So just like it was prompting me to say, hey, Jennifer, you need to put a storefront photo in. They're really important, certainly for anyone who has a physical location where people are going to. So I think I did restaurants in Perth. And I'm sure we've all done this. We're going to a new restaurant in a new location and we look at the pictures. Not only do we look at the pictures, but we look at the pictures from other people. We don't look at the pretty pictures that the brand does, the company. We want to see what real people are posting to get a true idea and sense of what we're walking into. The other thing, so Candace, our friend Candace at Best Health Physio, people are very anxious about going to new places and trying new things. So the more information you provide, so whether it's a picture of the parking lot and the door that they enter, and maybe the staircase they have to go up or the elevator they have to access, that's going to help to reduce that sense of anxiety with trying a new place, space, or service. So same thing goes for, if you're running, I don't think we've got any hotels on here, judging by the 5 people here. But this is what people look at. You're going to go to even, if you've planned a trip maybe down south, you're looking at all the photos. Like, what are you getting yourself and your spouse and your family into, when you take a vacation down south? So these photos are extremely important. Okay. So let's talk about setting up and verification. So many of you know and do have access to your Google Business Profile. There was one individual who wasn't sure with a few question marks. So let's talk about that first. So what you can do is check to see if there's an existing Google Business page. So that would involve, bringing up Google and putting in your business name. This could be a bit of a challenge if number one, you've changed your business name and maybe you want to get that old business name off. It could also be a challenge if you had somebody else perhaps manage this and now you don't have access to it. So maybe that individual left, is no longer part of your business and you're thinking, shoot, how do I get this back? So there is a way. So you can claim your account. Typically the verification methods, phone or text if you're lucky, email if you're very lucky. But likely now you do have to do a video recording of the place and space to claim your business profile. So that QR code there, so if you are on a desktop or a laptop computer and you're able to grab your phone, you can scan that code, and it will walk you through the process to claim your business profile. Now, the video recording, I have been known to be standing on street corners, taking picture or taking a live video of, downtown Kingston at a street corner, walking half a block, going into a building, showing a front register, walking into the back. It's very awkward. But this is what they're looking for now to reduce the number of illegitimate accounts. So if you need any help with that, certainly we can support you with that. It is a bit challenging these days, but once you figure it out, you're okay. But that QR code will certainly bring you to that, do you have an account, or, do you need help claiming it? And typically this is what it's going to look like once you start to create an account. So if you need to create something brand new, so if there's anyone on the call today who's maybe opening a shop or has opened a shop and, hasn't thought about it yet, you can certainly create a new one. It is free. It still will ask your account to be verified. So you will have to go through the verification process, and likely that will be a live video. Okay, so let's bring this up. All right, so pretending you do have access to this. If you want to see who has access to your account, I recommend making a note to go in twice a year just to take a peek, make sure everyone who's on the account should have access to it. You can go into these three dots here and here, and then business profile and settings. And then I'm going to go into people and access so I can see the two people who have access to my account, which is exactly what it needs to be. If I wanted to add somebody new, I could add my colleague here. And now they have access to it as well. So you can add people and they can have different administrative rights as well. So under the access, I can change what they're allowed to do. Okay. If I needed to remove people, I can simply click remove. And now it's just the two of us. And then I have stuff to, resolve after this call. For the most part, many of you are not going to be, needing these pieces here. If you do operate a franchise, think items under advanced settings are going to be important to you. So if you're like a one branch of a hotel or a coffee shop or a coffee chain, there'll be additional pieces in here. And then linked accounts. So if you do want to have Google Ads, then they'll be in there as well. Okay, question from Linda. Do you have to have a Gmail account to set this up? I want to say not necessarily, but it makes it more complicated. And then people tend to get themselves into, they forgot the email address that they signed up with. So they do prefer you to have a Gmail address. If you don't, you still can, but it's clunky, if I'm allowed to say that. So Ellie, how do you go to the settings? So to add and remove people. So we're looking at our main screen. So I think you're with Kingston Community Healthcare. So once you've got this screen up here where you can see the edit profile, it's these three dots. See this profile strength and then this ellipsis, it's in there, and then business profile settings. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. So now we've confirmed our admins. We're happy with who has access. Now we're going to go into our edit profile. And in our edit profile, some of you might see lines through certain things. So that's where your clients maybe have gone in and updated things to say, oh, this isn't accurate or this is. So sometimes you can approve these changes, and that's why it's important to have access to this. So you can have your business name, your different business categories. So if I wanted to add, I don't even know if they have social media. I don't think they do. Here, there, web design. So you can add a few different categories. Typically, it's going to have this little note that says it will take 10 minutes for it to be reviewed. Generally, they're fine. You can add your description, opening date, phone number, chat if you want to have a Google chat. I do not, absolutely do not. Your website, your different social profiles. And this is something I think they added in 2025, if not the end of 2024. So this is a nice little thing that they've added. So then people can hop from here and go check you out on a different social channel. We can also have a shortened name, which it's not really relevant anymore. Ooh, I'll show you, Sherry. Your business location, where you operate service, your hours of operation. And then remember I said these special hours? So if I said, oh, on family day, maybe I'm working, perhaps I could review this and say I'm actually open 8 to 4, or I can say that I'm closed and then save that. Okay. Save. Your photos. So these are the photos related to your business. So you simply add this little option here where it says add photos. And then you kind of pick, internal photos. It could be if I see there's a woodworker, you can put pictures of past projects on here. If you want to add services, I just use it as a list here. So I can have a list of all the services that I offer. So those keywords that are associated with my account. So under services, I can say add more. And then add in, well, I got web design in here. Okay. If you want to have products, and that's something that I don't do, but perhaps you do, you could add in different products. So if you sell t-shirts and socks and sweaters, then you could add those different products in here. All right, so we've got some questions. How can others edit your profile? So let me community. They're going to let me do it, maybe. Kingston Community Healthcare. They're on the call today. So how can people edit? So I'm not affiliated with Kingston Community Healthcare, but I can go on here and suggest an edit. So me as a user, maybe I've used their services before. I can say, actually, I'm not actually going to do this, so don't panic. For those of you on the call who are from here, I can mark it as closed. I can say it's not here. I could say this is not their category. I could say this isn't, I don't know what it is, but this is incorrect. This is actually really funny the way they put that. Let's get back in here. This is where it gets a lot of people. So the hours of operation. So I could suggest changes in here. So then, provided they have the correct admins on here, they will say a Google user has suggested some changes. Are they correct or not? But if there's nobody who's really monitoring this, Google will just assume them to be true. Okay. It doesn't happen very often. Years ago, one of the worst examples I saw, this is probably 2018, 2019 at this point. It was in the HVAC industry. And a competitor was going to like a competitor to my client. Competitor to my client was going and changing their phone numbers to that person's phone number. So when you would call to get, well, it was at the time like Haven Home Climate Care, you were getting this competitor because they went through and they changed all the phone numbers because nobody was actively managing it. Google just assumed these numbers were true. It was so bad. So make sure, yes. So make sure somebody is watching these things. Okay. So we've got a question about Irene. Okay. So this has gotten tough, actually. If you don't have a physical address, there is an alternative to it. So it's called a service area. So we have one client like this. They do insulation and they don't have a physical address. They have a home office, but they're all remote because they go to your house to do the insulation. So you can actually still have a Google business profile and it's set up with a service area. So if you are an arts organization in Gananoque, maybe you service that kind of area, you can certainly set it up. It's something that it will walk you through the first time you set up your Google Business account. Okay. Can I have under one Google profile multiple programs? Oh, KCHC. So it's like different. So your different services. Oh, different sites. Yes, 100%. You can have different sites. So it's, you can have KCHC. I think it's kind of what you're doing here, actually. So you've got your main one on Weller, but then you have Street Health on Barrick. Yeah, totally. You can manage a whole bunch of different accounts. If they have a physical address, great. And then they'll just be, directed back. Yeah, you can have kind of your main hub and then all of your other sites as well. I think I manage like 35 accounts, so it's all good. Okay. Really great questions, everyone. Thank you. All right, reviews. People love and hate reviews. Love and hate reviews. We all probably know or have a good idea of what a Google review is, but they help potential customers make a decision if they're going to visit you, book with you, come for coffee, book an appointment. And we're all skeptical of them. So as a business owner, we love our reviews, most of them. And then as an individual looking at a business, we get skeptical because what do? We look at them and go, oh, here's a nice restaurant, 4.4 stars. Why is it so high? So then we instantly will do, I'm going to bring this one up actually. Actually, I don't know if I can. Let's see. Okay. I shouldn't have picked something that I manage. We can go in here. So what people are going to do, they're going to look at, okay, what was the most recent? So this was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. These people are pretty happy. That's great. But then they'll do the inverse. They'll kind of look and go, okay, why was this 1 star? Like what's happening? So reviews are a good thing. And people are going to look at the positive, they're going to look at the negative. Honestly, sometimes they're more skeptical of businesses that have, 5 stars across the board because I think they've been paying for their reviews. So it's a good idea to get more reviews, but you can't offer incentives. So you can't say we'll give you a discount or a gift card for providing a review. So it's similar to, I think, what TripAdvisor did years ago. I think it was TripAdvisor. But you can certainly say, please leave us a review. So you can ask through any email marketing. You could request reviews on your invoices or upon the completion of a task. So you can integrate that into your email marketing if you want. You can have QR codes for a waiting area, at doors. And I've seen a lot more of those little plastic standy things showing up at businesses. You can easily, do a QR code and put it in a picture frame as well. I'll put mine in here. So mine looks like this. So I can leave you a link that looks like this. And it will bring you right to my page where you can leave a review. So when I'm looking at my Google Business, so here's my reviews. This will look the same for you as well. There's this gray box here. It says get more reviews right there. So you could choose to email it, you could WhatsApp it. I don't have WhatsApp.
You could Facebook, but you can just copy this link. So that's the link that I just put in the chat there. So yours, obviously, it's going to go to your business, not mine, but you can copy it. Here's a QR code they've nicely made for you as well. So it says save image as, so you could save it. So there's a few different ways that you can send this for people to, leave you a review. So when they go to this link, it brings this right up. So again, going back to the idea that a lot of people are overwhelmed, this makes it very easy. So if the QR code directs them right to this page, to say, I'm not leaving a review for myself, but that says, Cheryl is going to leave a review for, KCHC, and then share your experiences. It makes it a lot easier than trying to coach people through the navigation to get here. Okay. So I'll just show you once more where to find that. Okay. Or just completely. Okay. So if you see your Google business profile, you're going to go down and then get more reviews right there. Okay. Okay. We like positive reviews, but you know what? Not everybody likes us, nor can we satisfy everybody, because I like the term, we are not pizza. We can't make everybody happy. So long story short, you might be able to have a negative review removed. So number one, you have to determine if they were a legitimate customer or client with a legitimate concern. Okay. So you do want to respond to these people. So maybe they came in, I'm going to pick on the physiotherapy. Maybe they came into your physiotherapy site and maybe it was just a bad day and somebody was late for work. We've all been there. Their kid wouldn't get in the car to get to daycare. And now that practitioner is late and then your appointment's late and they're angry about it. So respond to them as if you're calling, emailing, or speaking to them. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting. You're going to be upset. But respond to them with, I don't want to say a good response, but respond to them as if they're a human, because they are. Now, sometimes you're going to get negative reviews that have nothing to do with your business. Sometimes it's a bot. Sometimes your businesses get confused with other businesses. Sometimes people use improper language or derogatory terms or phrases. You can have these removed. It's much easier to get a Google review removed if they use words and not just like a 1 star. So if they use bad language, or they say, for example, I was working with an engineering company and there was a gentleman, if I can call him that, who kept leaving reviews saying, this car dealership keeps selling me bad, I think it was pickup trucks. So I used this link at this QR code to say, hey, Google, this person keeps buying cars from us, but he can't buy cars because we do civil engineering. So they would remove his reviews because they could see that that company was not selling used pickup trucks. So in that case, it's easier. But if that gentleman had come and just put a 1 star review with no context, those are almost impossible to have removed. Okay. All right. So George has a question. That's terrible. Oh, you should be able to change it. Under the description, sometimes it says it takes a little bit of time. If you can't change it, I would question if you have the proper administration rights to make that change. So that would be my question. And Ellie, no, you can't remove that. So that's just there. But again, if anyone's suggesting these changes, it's going to come up to yourself or another administrator that says, Jennifer has said there's this change, and you can approve or deny it. Unfortunately, it's an administrative piece on you. But if you have control, then it's easier to manage. All right, so let's go to reviews for a second. So So all your reviews. So number one, as once you're an administrator, you're going to get an email every time somebody leaves a review. Usually they come in pretty quick, but sometimes I've been seeing it lag by a couple of hours at this point. So not too sure what's up with that. So I can see all the reviews in here. If you're just getting started with Google Business and this is brand new to you, you can tab over to see this unreplied and then maybe start there with responding to people, because it is a good idea to respond to people, acknowledge, even a thank you, a simple thank you for leaving a review. We're happy to help. So you can take a peek there. All right, we are almost probably got about 10 minutes left. All right. So if you can get through those main pieces of your Google Business Profile, so you've got the right administrators, you've got some proper information, hours of operation, few photos, and you're responding to reviews, you're doing better than most. And that's where you really need to start. The next little section that I'm going to show you will require more capacity, because there's no scheduling for this at this point that I have found. So you can do updates to your Google Business Profile, and this is really handy if they're timely. So I would find that they would be up to date if you're a place that does events, as it happens, maybe sales or specials. So you can see on my profile, and this is right kind of near the bottom of it, we've got our description, and then we've got our updates. So we're hiring for an individual here. So for somebody else, it might look like this. So they've got a big sale. They've got, 50% off, 75% off, whatever, shop in store. Kind of, yeah. I feel like they've changed the name a few times. And then the last one is events. So and I'll show you kind of why it is a bit clunky. Okay. So the updates, yeah, maybe they used to be called posts, Megan. This might be why. So we can go in here and say add an update. And it's going to give us 3 different options here. So I'm thinking, Megan, it started with a post and now they've expanded into the 3 different categories. So we can have an update, an offer, or an event. Okay. So honestly, I really like the user interface of this compared to using Facebook, for example. You can schedule it, but it's within Google, so you still physically have to do it. It's not like you can do it from a central portal. And then you can add a button or a link. If you're doing offers, so maybe George is doing offers for his B&B, you can do start and end dates, which are nice. And Trish, I know, is running some music up in Elgin. So maybe Trish can come in here and say, here's music evening number 1. This is the start and end with different start and end times. So this is more labor intensive. There's certainly the idea that these Google Business Profiles are set and forget, which they can be to a certain extent. But now that they have these updates, it can add more time on your end. So if you don't have someone helping with your social media and it does fall to you, it does take more time because now you're doing the action again. Okay. But that's certainly in there. If you don't get to that, that's okay. Get the other stuff done and clean. And then this is a really good, nice to have. That would be the next level if you can, when you get here. Okay. All right. I just want to talk. So George had a question. We don't list prices of our B&B. However, Google. I don't know. There might be a pricing piece. I'm guessing there's a pricing piece in there. I'd have to see it. But because you're listed as an accommodation, it probably has a pricing scale. All right. So the last little piece we're going to talk about are insight and analytics. Google will send you this. I think it's quarterly. I think I usually get an update quarterly from them. So these are for just your Google business. This is not Google Ads. This is not related to your website. This is just this profile. So it can give you an idea of how you're doing. So this graph here is from August to December. I had 306 profile interactions, and I can separate into if it was calls or bookings, directions, or clicks to my website. So you can go through and take a peek and see how you're doing. But then you can also see where people are actually looking at this Google profile, which can give you a little bit of insight if you're thinking about a website redesign or kind of how you're changing your terminology. So I can see here, half of them are on mobile devices. That's where they're looking for me. And then Google search desktop is 38%. And then sometimes I just show up on maps for 7%. So, and it's going to look really different for everybody. This is what I find the most interesting. It gives you search breakdowns. So when you appear, what are the terms that they're looking for? So Jennifer Baker Consulting makes sense. 16. And then we've got things like advertising class, graphic design agencies, business consultants, business marketing, and so on. So you will also have a list, and it does go on quite a bit. I think there's about 20 words. So if you do plan on doing any sort of website redesign, if you want to get into SEO or Google Ads, look at these words to see how you're showing up. It can give you a little bit of kind of background information. Yeah, you can. And you can also see all the misspellings as well. So you get a little bit of data in there. All right, so let's show you one more thing before I let you go. Okay. Have I lost my profile? I think I did. We'll just use this one as an example. So to get those analytics I was showing you, so before we were looking at edit profile, but now we're in performance. So this is for the period. You can change it a little bit depending on your reporting out. I can do it for, let's do Q4. Yep, under performance, but under performance, in performance. So I can see 12,000. In this case, they're a restaurant, so we can see what they were looking at. How many people called right from the business profile? No bookings because that's not enabled. How many people needed driving directions? How many people click through to the website? I forget that it just scrolls down. How many times it showed up on Google Maps? 94,000 times. These are the words. They just keep going. And like if you're familiar with Kingston restaurants, so people are putting in, Cards Bakery, and it also happens to be on the map. We got Dinner Kingston. It'll just keep going in this case. There's Heist spelt wrong. There's just the word club. Bowling. Not sure why that's in there. So you do get a good idea. So it's all under performance. So it's this kind of little bar graph with the stars. It's going to be available to you once you do have those administrative rights. So in terms of your next steps, what do you want to do? So once you do have access to your profile or you've set up a new profile, making sure all those details are up to date. So address, phone number, hours of operation kind of are those key ones, getting photos in there, adding different logos. And that's really what you want to do. And usually I have a note to go back at least twice a year to review everything in there to make sure it is all accurate. The other thing that's going to happen too, Google just does updates. It decides like, hey, we're going to add a new little feature in here. So if you're not actively looking, you're just going to miss out on that. So even if you don't have any updates, you might get in there and say, well, this is new. This is a new thing now. So you might have some new pieces that you need to fill in for that Google Business Profile. Ooh, we got activating ones. Okay. So I'm going to take your Q&A now. You're welcome to leave a review for me if you'd like. I'm going to leave in my other bits as well, and then we are going to do 10 minutes of Q&A. Hold on.
I have some
Meg, I'm
for
going-
you in the Q&A box. as
Okay,
well,
yeah, I'm
Jonathan.
going back in the chat because I feel like a whole bunch of people just asked things and I missed something. AIs. Trish, AI is jumping in when people search. How does that impact? So it doesn't necessarily impact the Google Business Profile, but it impacts. So if people are going to ChatGPT to ask, you want to be found like with the SEO related to AI. And that's related to your business and all your business activity. And that is a whole separate workshop, Trish. Good idea, Meg. Take note. And then Meg had a question. Megan had a question, and then the other Megan responded. So thank you, Megan. And then Ellie, how can we remove or deactivate accounts? So you can. The perfectionist in me is really irritated by how Google does the deactivate. So I think Ellie, you're with KCHC. So you can't delete anything. So it sits there and just says deactivated, and it bothers me so much because it won't let you fully remove something. It will just come up as permanently closed. So you certainly can do that. That I believe is under the settings. Let me just take a little peek here. If you email me afterwards, I can find that for you. But it's super frustrating because even if there's a duplicate, I didn't talk about duplicate profiles. It just sits in your account and says it's a duplicate. So the perfectionist in me wants to clean it up, but I really can't. So it does something similar with the deactivated ones as well. Oh my goodness. Laughing. Yes, you can have Lori. So the question is, can we have several local areas? Yes, absolutely. So let's say you're in Kingston, but you know people from Gananoque drive in or Napanee. You can say you service those areas if you're remote and you will maybe drive to them. So if you're a contractor, you can and you will go up to Plevna, then you can put Plevna in area. So you can have multiple places and spaces in there. Yes, absolutely. We don't want to come up as permanently closed. I know. I think Krista and Ellie are having a full conversation here, so it's better to edit already. Okay.
So
All right,
Jennifer, I do
Q&A.
have one from Linda. Just to come back to the question about if you don't have a physical address.
Yeah.
If you show a service area, does that mean you don't have to show an actual address?
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then I have a question from Candace. Is it possible to add a second email to the Google profile to receive an email when you receive a new review? They have a Gmail address used with the Google Business Profile, but it's not regularly checked.
Yeah. So you can add, so that would be under administrators. So Candace, if it was yourself and then maybe your colleague Peter and Sandra, all three of you can be listed under there. And they all have access to it. So just because you set it up and maybe it was with an old account, you can either remove that one entirely, or you can add more of I'll call it an active Gmail account if that's something you needed. Yeah, Megan, that's true too. You can set up email forwarding as well. The only thing about the email forwarding that I would get concerned about is if that old account is not active, Gmail eventually is going to close out those accounts. So just be cautious of that. One last clarification. Is it better to edit the already existing account? Perhaps, depending on how different it is. I'm not sure what you're planning, Ellie. Like, I don't know if you're changing like a complete, because if you're changing an address, it might not like if you're changing an address and a name, because it might want to think it's an entirely different like maybe service, because I know what you're trying to do. You might upset Google if you do this.
In that same vein, actually, we
Yep.
have a question in the Q&A that says, can you add multiple spellings of your business name? So if there's more than one.
No. So you just have your business name, and that's your name. The spellings would probably potentially be a strategy like in Google Ads. So if people are doing Google search ads and they continually spell your name or your business name incorrectly, that could be in there, but not necessarily for a Google business profile. Should you delete guest images? I wouldn't. I would leave them, George. And like, if you're coming at it from the lens of, wow, these photos are 15 years old, people will see that, they'll go, oh, this was posted in 20, I had to look at a calendar to know what year it is, in 2010. So they'll do that, go, it's probably changed, or even 5, 8 years, like they'll hopefully understand that.
And we did have a question about Google Ads, but I know Google Ads is a whole bear on its own.
Oh, it's a beast.
Yeah. So
what's the question about that?
I'll pull it up for you. It was just wondering, they were wondering if we were going to touch on it a bit in this session. But they had Google Ads for the last 4 or 5 years. They were showing up as a sponsored ad for searches, but in September they disappeared and they tried contacting Google, which is difficult. And they changed how search looks when it comes to accommodations. So they're not sure how or why they disappeared. And so they're wondering if you touched on Google Ads in the session.
Well, Google, and it depends for Google Ads. So if they disappeared, so if their ads are still running, but they disappeared, so they're not seeing them anymore, it probably comes down to a budget. There's just so much competition right now. Google has changed, as well as Meta has changed. The way in which ads are created and served, and it relies very heavily on AI models. But if it's a matter of maybe they would see their ads, now they don't, and they're still being charged, likely it's running into a budgetary issue more than anything because of the increase in competition. Thank you everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming, and thanks for spending the morning with us. We will be sending out a follow-up email, as I mentioned. It's going to have a copy of this recording. It's going to have a quick survey link if you have some time. One of the questions in that survey link, based on some of the information that's coming in here, one of the sections in the survey link is if there's more content that you're looking for. If there's a topic that you're interested in, such as Google Ads with Jennifer Baker, feel free to throw it in there so that we have something to work with. We want to know what you guys need, what information you need to help run your business and make sure it's successful. So be sure to give us that information. And thank you, Jennifer, for another great session. I know you're going to be running out of here shortly because you have
Maybe
another
I'll see everyone
session.
soon.
Yes, another session in person in Kingston. And it sounds like we might be having you back for some Google Ads work.
Hooray.
Perfect. Well,
Sounds
thank
great.
you, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks for another AI session. I'm going to let you all go. We're at 11 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, everyone, for attending.